Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life when a man must face the mirror, not the one hanging on the wall, but the one inside his soul. That mirror does not reflect your face, it reflects your character. And for many, what they see is not who they wish to become. The truth is simple. The old you must die. Yes, die. Because the man you have been is standing in the way of the man you are destined to be. You cannot walk into your future carrying the corpse of your past. You cannot taste greatness while clinging to habits born of weakness. The death of the old self is not a metaphor, it is a necessity. No man can ascend to greatness while dragging the weight of who he used to be. The person you were yesterday is not equipped to handle the destiny you are reaching for. He is filled with hesitation, with limitation, with beliefs inherited from the frightened, the average, and the uninspired. That man must be laid to rest if you are ever to rise. You see, every dream, every goal, every mountain worth climbing requires a version of you that has not yet lived. The old you was built for survival, not for conquest. He was molded by fear, shaped by opinions, conditioned by failure. He doubts more than he believes. He waits more than he acts. And worst of all, he thinks the future will look like the past. That man cannot walk the road to greatness. That man must die. And make no mistake, this death is not easy. It is not a quiet ending. It is a brutal, conscious sacrifice. It means killing your excuses. It means watching your comforts go up in flames. It means walking away from the parts of yourself that have been with you for years, maybe even your whole life. But they are not your friends. They are your captors. And the only way to ever be free is to bury them for good. When you kill the old self, you make room for power. True power. The power of decision, the power of discipline, the power of focus so intense that nothing can shake it. The new you does not beg for motivation. He creates it. He does not fear failure. He leads it. He does not follow the crowd. He leads. Even if it means walking alone, and it happens every day, not once. Every day you must wake up and slay the man who wants to quit. Every day you must deny the voice that says it's too hard. Every day you must take one more step into discomfort, because that is where the new you is waiting. You must treat the old self like a rival, not a reflection. Because the moment you see him as a part of you, you will let him speak again. You let him drive again. You let him slow you down. And the dream will die before it even begins. So rise today with fire in your spirit and steel in your spine. And look in the mirror and say, the man who stood here yesterday is no longer alive. Then prove it. Prove it in the way you walk, the way you think, the way you grind. Bury your former self beneath the weight of your effort. Let the new you be built on the ashes of the old. This is not about change. It is about rebirth. And every rebirth begins with death. The old you has had his time. Now let him go. Destroy comfort to awaken purpose. This is the law of growth, the code of all who rise beyond average. Comfort is the enemy you welcomed into your life. It feels warm, it feels safe, but it is a slow poison that numbs your spirit and suffocates your ambition. Nothing great was ever born in comfort. Nothing legendary ever rose from ease. The man who stays in comfort never discovers who he really is. He only finds out how long he can survive without ever truly living. You were not created to simply exist in a routine of sameness. You were not built to repeat yesterday forever. You were meant to evolve, to stretch, to suffer in the name of something greater than yourself. But that can never happen while you are protecting the old walls of safety. Those walls don't protect your purpose, they protect your limits. And until you tear them down, your true potential will remain locked behind them. Comfort teaches you to settle. It whispers, "You're doing fine," when deep down you know you were made for more. It hands you excuses instead of challenges. It convinces you to lower your standards just enough that you can stay where it's easy, where it's familiar, where it's predictable. But the man of purpose, the man who is driven by vision, knows that nothing grows where it is always safe. Your purpose is like a roaring fire, but comfort throws water on that flame every time you avoid the struggle. The struggle is what fans the fire. The discomfort is what sharpens the mind. The resistance is what strengthens the will. Purpose is not found in silence and stillness. It is found in the furnace of adversity. Only when the pressure comes, only when you are tested, only when the weight becomes almost too heavy to bear, only then do you discover what you're really made of. The old you, the one you are trying to kill, is addicted to comfort. He wants results without effort. He wants recognition without risk. But the new you understands that the life you want is on the other side of pain. It lives in the days when you don't feel like showing up, but do it anyway. It lives in the moments when everything tells you to quit, but you take one more step. Every time you choose discomfort, you cast a vote for the man you are becoming. Every rep you push through, every early morning you rise before the sun, every sacrifice you make, it all breaks the grip of comfort and brings you closer to your calling. Because comfort never brings clarity, purpose does. And the only way to find it is to walk away from everything that feels safe and into everything that demands your growth. You must declare war on the easy life. You must seek out the difficult road, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you understand what suffering unlocks. Purpose is forged in discomfort. That is where the real man is born. Thoughts shape identity. Change the thought, change the man. Every action, every habit, every result in your life was first born in the invisible world of thought. You are not defined by your circumstances, your past, or the opinions of others. You are defined by the mental blueprint you carry with you every day. That blueprint is either the foundation of your greatness or the prison of your limitation. And the truth is this: the man you see in the mirror is a reflection of the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind. You cannot build a powerful life on weak thoughts. The man who constantly tells himself he is not good enough will eventually believe it. The man who focuses on problems instead of solutions will soon see obstacles everywhere. Your thinking is not just a part of your life, it is your life. The world you live in is shaped first in the chambers of your mind. Change the thought, and you change the outcome. The old you, the one that must die, was created by thoughts of fear, doubt, laziness, and comparison. He allowed the world to write his story for him. He repeated thoughts he never questioned. Thoughts like, "I'll never be successful," "It's too late," "I'm not talented enough." These thoughts became his beliefs. Those beliefs became his behaviors. And those behaviors built the reality that trapped him. But that cycle can be broken right now. The mind is not a fixed structure. It is a tool. And the man who masters his mind masters his destiny. If you want to become something greater, you must begin with the decision to reject the thoughts that no longer serve you. You must guard your mind like a fortress. Every thought that enters must be inspected, interrogated, and if necessary, eliminated. And the man you want to become, the one driven by purpose, discipline, power, that man thinks differently. He feeds his mind with thoughts of vision, of strength, of possibility. He speaks to himself not with hesitation, but with certainty. He tells himself what he will do, not what he might do. His self-talk is the weapon. His beliefs are armor, and his mindset is his kingdom. You cannot repeat the same thoughts and expect a new life. That is the illusion the old self believes in, but the new you understands. The first step toward transformation is not action, it's awareness. Becoming aware of how your thoughts are either lifting you or limiting you. And from that awareness, you gain power. Power to replace weakness with strength. Power to think intentionally. Power to rewrite the narrative that once held you back. Every day, you must reprogram the mind. You must speak greatness into your soul until it becomes natural. You must reject the voice of the old self and amplify the voice of purpose. Because once your thinking changes, everything changes. The man you were begins to fade, and the man you are becoming steps forward with clarity, conviction, and unstoppable force. Discipline is the funeral of weakness. The moment you choose discipline, you begin to bury every excuse, every lazy thought, every habit that once held you back. Weakness dies not in dramatic moments, but in quiet, relentless repetition. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not loud. It does not beg for attention. But it is the most powerful force a man can wield, because when a man is disciplined, he no longer waits to be motivated. He moves because it is time to move. He acts because it is who he is, not because he feels like it. The old version of you relied on feelings. He only worked when it was convenient. He only trained when the weather was right, when the mood was perfect, when the stars aligned. But that man never got far. He lived in cycles. One good day, two bad ones. 1 week of focus, a month of regret. That man lacked the spine required to build something that lasts. But the disciplined man, the new man, has no such dependency. He does not negotiate with his emotions. He does what must be done, when it must be done, regardless of how he feels. Discipline is freedom. It may feel like chains at first. Waking up early, saying no to temptation, pushing when you're tired. But those are not chains. They are keys. Keys that unlock a life that few ever taste. Because while the world sleeps, the disciplined man builds. While the world complains, he creates. While others postpone, he performs. And in every act of consistency, the weak version of himself is buried deeper, and this is how the new you is built. Not in one day, but through the funeral process of weakness repeated daily. You wake up when you say you will. You train your body when your mind says rest. You finish what you start, not because it's easy, but because it's required. Every time you follow through, you send a signal to your mind. We are not that man anymore. We don't break promises to ourselves. We don't fold under pressure. Understand this. Discipline is not a punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. When you are disciplined, you are telling the world, I believe in who I am becoming. It is proof that you're no longer living on potential, you're living on purpose. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. The tasks that once felt like burdens become part of your nature. You begin to crave structure. You begin to love the process. And without realizing it, the old you disappears. Not with a bang, but with quiet daily defeats is your power. You do not need to be the fastest, the smartest, or the most gifted. You only need to be the most disciplined. Because in the end, talent may flash, but discipline endures. The man who buries his weakness with daily effort will one day rise as someone unstoppable. And that is the man you were born to be. Obsession is the engine of transformation. Nothing great is ever achieved with lukewarm effort. The man who dabbles, who merely tries, who gives half his focus, will forever live in the shadows of those who are possessed by their purpose. The world does not yield its treasures to the man who wants success, only to the man who needs it, who breeds it, who would rather suffer chasing it than live without it. And your mind is locked onto a vision so vividly, so relentlessly, that everything else becomes background noise. That is when the old you begins to die. Obsession is not a flaw. It is not madness. It is clarity in its purest form. It means you have seen who you could be, and you refuse to look away. While the old you wastes time bouncing between distractions, jumping from one goal to another, the new you drills deep into one path. The old you wants balance. The new you wants breakthrough. And breakthrough demands obsession. It demands that you wake up thinking about your goal and go to sleep with it still burning in your thoughts. It demands that you become consumed, not with fame, not with applause, but with the work that greatness requires. Most people never change because they never go all in. They dip their toes in the water of transformation but keep one foot in the shore of comfort. They never truly commit. But obsession requires a different level of hunger. It means your vision is not a hobby, it is a necessity. It is not something you do when it's easy, it's what you do no matter what. Rain, fatigue, failure, judgment, nothing can stop the obsessed mind. That mind is locked in. That mind cannot be broken, because it has already burned the bridges behind it. There is no backup plan. There is only forward. The old you wants balance between comfort and ambition. The new you knows that comfort and greatness cannot live in the same house. To transform, you must become the man who scares the old version of himself. You must work so hard, think so deeply, execute so ruthlessly, that the man you used to be wouldn't recognize you. And that comes from obsession. Not interest, not motivation, but the unshakable inner fire that says, I don't care how long it takes. I will become the man I see in my vision. Obsession simplifies your life. It removes the distractions. You stop caring what others think. You stop chasing validation. You stop living for temporary pleasure. Your habits sharpen, your actions align. You begin to breathe in a new rhythm, one that is synced with your destiny. And day by day, the old you falls away, not because you try to kill him, but because he no longer fits in the life you're building. He cannot survive in the atmosphere of obsession. He cannot keep up with the focus, the drive, the hunger. He fades, slowly at first, then completely, replaced by a version of you that moves with purpose in every step. This is the power obsession brings. It is not for the weak-hearted. It is for the man who is ready to leave behind the world of someday and step fully into now. Because transformation does not happen by accident. It happens when your desire becomes a force greater than your fear, stronger than your doubt, louder than your excuse. Obsession is the engine, purpose is the fuel, and once they ignite together, there is no limit to who you can become. Sacrifice is the sign of the new man. No transformation happens without a cost. You cannot become something greater while holding on to everything that made you small. The life you want is not free. It demands something from you. It demands you give up the habits that brought you comfort but no growth, the relationships that filled your time but not your soul, the routines that felt good but got you nowhere. Sacrifice is not punishment. It is proof. Proof that you are serious. Proof that the old you is dying and a new, sharper, stronger version is taking his place. The old Hugh wanted results without surrender. He thought he could keep his distractions, keep his laziness, keep his comforts, and still rise. But that man was wrong. He never understood the price, and because he wasn't willing to pay it, he stayed the same. Day after day, month after month, year after year, talking about change, dreaming of success, but never moving toward it. The new man understands that every level of life has a toll, and that toll is always paid in sacrifice. You want discipline, you have to sacrifice impulse. You want freedom, you must sacrifice excuses. You want purpose, you have to sacrifice pleasure. That's the truth. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot feed your distractions and your destiny at the same time. You have to choose. And every time you say no to what the old you would have accepted, you take another step into your higher self. Sacrifice separates the serious from the spectators. It is the line in the sand. Everyone says they want success, but very few are willing to give up what they're clinging to in order to get it. They want to change, but they want to stay comfortable. They want the reward, but not the process. They want to keep their old self alive while pretending to chase a new identity. But the man who is truly ready to evolve knows something has to die. A part of him, a belief, a behavior, a relationship, it must go. Because the weight of the old self will always pull you back if you let it stay. And once you begin to sacrifice, a strange thing happens. You begin to feel lighter. You begin to feel clear. The noise starts to fade. What once seemed important starts to lose its grip. You begin to move with more power because you are no longer split between two worlds. You are no longer trying to be two people, the man who wants more and the man who fears letting go. You have chosen. And in that choice you find strength most men never touch. This is what separates the man of vision from the man of regret. One is willing to let go. The other is too afraid. The new you rises not because he is better, but because he is braver. Brave enough to sacrifice who he was for who he must become. The old you must die so the real you can live. This is not a gentle process, it is a war between the man you were and the man you are destined to become. It begins in your mind, is forged through discipline, fueled by obsession, and sealed with sacrifice. You do not evolve by chance, you evolve by choice. Every day you are given that choice. Remain comfortable or become powerful. Stay familiar or step into the fire. Cling to weakness or kill it with relentless effort. This journey is not for everyone. But if you've heard these words and felt something awaken inside you, then it is for you. Let today be the funeral of your former self. Let every action from this point forward prove that you are no longer who you were. You are